What up, everybody? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to another edition of the Brothers of Legacy. I'm your host, A.D. Walker, the Pucha, the Grower, the Motivator. I appreciate you guys being here, being a part of all that we do. Let's go. Bring that down a little bit. So, you guys are being here, another edition of the Brothers of Legacy. So make sure you know what to do. Share. And sharing is caring. As well as I know that others are on, and tag somebody. And if you get the text, if you're part of the text community, you know the text community, text LWN to 84576. Take that text and share it with the world. All right, there we go. I couldn't hear myself. Gotten used to it. So I appreciate you guys for being here again. Another edition. We got an amazing conversation with my brother Calvin Foster. We're going to be talking about building generational wealth through land ownership. So this is going to be a good conversation. It's probably going to lead into a part 2, maybe even a part 3, maybe in a part 4, because it's a lot of moving parts to this. So make sure you tag someone. I'm telling you, this is going to be that conversation. So make sure you get everybody in here. Let's see, Mama Corey, great morning to you. Jeff in the building. Good morning, good morning. Thank you for always being here and sharing. So, let's see, that there. We're going to get ready to kick this off. I got Kaneen, a.k.a. Buster Rhymes, in the building. And Pastor should be coming through in a moment. So, let's go ahead and not delay the time. Probably still shaky. I feel like I'm having connection issues. Again, this episode of Brothers of Legacy is brought to you by Spectrum. If you want issues with your connections, sign up for Spectrum. That's it. That's all. Get Spectrum in the crib. All right, let's do this. Let's get busy. Spliggity splow. All right, so make sure you share. Make sure you share.
You're watching the Brothers of Legacy. We don't stand out. We stand up.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome, everybody.
Man, let me just give a disclaimer before you even start, AD. Your connection is trash.
Trash?
It is terrible. But, hey. As long as it looks good on the replay, you know what I'm saying?
Right. No, unfortunately, what you see here is what you get the whole time. I need to.
Really?
I'm probably gonna switch up. Yeah, I'm gonna switch up systems. I'm probably gonna definitely get into OBS. OBS gets a little more technical, but OBS I can record like locally, my stuff, so I can fix it later. So at least the replay will be cleaner.
Okay.
So yeah, we probably. That's a shout out to StreamYard. I might be moving away from you guys. Might be moving away. Right, there you go. It's the BOR brought to you by Spectrum, the world's best jitterbug broadcast.
Yeah. Appreciate that, Joe.
Nice.
Appreciate that, Joe.
As you can see, we have a guest in the building. None other than Mr. Calvin Foster. Oh, my peoples is coming through. All right. Mr. Calvin Foster, appreciate you. We got a lot to talk about, so we're gonna definitely jump into it. Let me just get my other brothers in here. We got a full house, so this is going to be really good. It's gonna be a 2-hour broadcast.
There you go. Oh, look at how we do it.
Morning.
Morning.
Gentlemen.
Morning,
brother. How you feeling, man?
What's up, man?
I forgot Calvin knew what you call it, Ephraim.
Mr. Reparations.
I forgot the connection.
Yeah, Mr. Reparations.
Long story. Been fighting for my people, man.
Yeah.
Well, you're working hard, man. Look like you're missing your boat this morning, though. Man, yeah. I just got off my Google Meet. I wear these glasses. I don't even need them. I just wear it for them. So they don't find out I don't know what I'm talking about.
Put on the show, man.
Yes, sir.
All right. All
Hey,
right. So
I bet you
what's
got
up?
on your gym shorts too, don't
Boy, don't make me stand up. Yes, sir. Got them things on. What you talking
Hey,
about, man?
I just had a feeling. I just had a feeling.
Yes, sir.
Listen, gotta do what you gotta do. Gotta do what you gotta do. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and kick it off. As you can see, we have a guest, Mr. Calvin Foster. Today he's going to talk about a lot, a lot. So the first thing I want to kind of talk about, I want you kind of I'm trying to get a good direction to start. And what's up, Sam? Good morning. Good morning.
Morning, Sam.
Your topic
She
in
sent me a
your
text and said my connection is terrible as well. So she co-signed on the terrible connection.
Yeah,
So I'm not going to talk a lot this broadcast. I'm going to talk a lot. All right. So I want to kind of dig into land and generational wealth and kind of like how that fits into what you're doing. And we talked about quite a bit topics. So that's the first place I want to hit on, Mr. Foster, as far as the value of land and generational wealth, and then kind of get into your story of how you got into getting land.
Right. First of all, good morning, everybody. Thank you for Brother Walker for providing this space. Holding this space. I already feel a really, really high energy, a very high vibration in the room already. I see you see my brothers in Christ on the line this morning, and it's just kind of interesting to me because generally I get in spaces like this, and they're not spaces where I find my brothers. So I'm very excited about this morning. It already has a different feel and a different flavor to it. And so thank you so much for putting this together and providing this opportunity for brothers to share, to collaborate, to talk, and just mentally, a mental space to check in from time to time because we deal with such changing times and so much is going on. So to get right into this land and man, there's just so many. I mean, I'm over here just buzzing right now because there's so many directions that I could go in this. So let me sort of shape it and kind of narrow it to just maybe a couple of different areas. One being legacy and heritage. Second, land is a very foundational piece of wealth. And then lastly, land being a part of any type of generational legacy that you want to leave, that I would like to leave behind. And I'm trying to get more and more people interested in. So to start this thing off, I guess I need to give a little bit of background on who I am. And so I'm from Southeast Georgia, a little town called Millen, maybe 25,000 people. I grew up with a mom and dad doing factory work. And to facilitate them doing factory work at a very young age, like maybe 4 or 5, I was sent out to the country, to the quintessential Southeast setup, to be raised by grandparents, my aunt and uncle on the farm. And so that's where my whole thing sort of starts. My grandmother was the mother of the church, was a founding member of the church there, and very prominent figure in the community, and probably the most influential figure in my life. Just the amount of respect that I thought people have for her convictions were very deeply rooted, and we come from sort of a Mobutu type of society. It is very Swahili in nature, where the eldest female is the matriarch, and she was pretty much the center of our family, and everyone, even though she had 14 children, they all grouped around her. So we had grown men who pretty much bowed to my grandmother. Now, she was a small woman in stature, only about 5'1", 5'2", but she commanded such a big presence. Just because, just the things she accomplished and how people respected her and how well known she was in the church. She was very prominent. You couldn't really go to Jenkins County, Statesboro, Augusta in the old days without knowing who Mother Scott was. And so, she was a very prominent figure there, very prominent in the church. We grew up in sort of a racial upset. We still had the racial biases going on. We still had separate black and white proms when I graduated. It was all that was still going on well into the early 90s.
Gotcha.
So it was very, very stuck in the 50s there in that sense. But black or white, people respected my grandmother. And she was a poor, she didn't have a lot of money, but she was very well respected as far as the church and people, her ability to provide wise counsel to a lot of people. And so I grew up with her. And one of the things that I got was her ability to work the land.
Okay.
Most of what we ate, we grew. And so it was a real big part of cows, chickens, pigs. We grew what we ate. We grew fields of peas, and the biggest thing she grew was these sweet potatoes. And so I grew up at a very young age following her around. We didn't have running water, so we would go, pumping water. I tell you, I come right out of a scene of Color Purple, man.
Right, it's looking like it.
Yeah, when you watch Color Purple, I literally can warp you back to that and show you where I grew up. We still had an outhouse. We didn't have plumbing inside.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think I was the last of that era to go through that stuff, man. And even though I'm only 48 years old, I still had that type of upbringing. And the good thing about it was we never really had a bunch of money, but we never knew we were poor.
Okay.
And I think that's where this thing can sort of start off, because we were so self-sufficient and so resilient,
right,
that we really didn't need anyone to provide a whole lot for us. And so we thrived just off the land. And so, with me going into the military was my next thing. I spent 20 years in the Marine Corps, in special forces, special operations, being deployed all around the world. But I always had this connection when I would go back home. My grandmother would ask me, "Okay, are you going back across the water?" She grew up in 1908. She grew up during the Depression, World War I, World War II. She grew up in the early 1900s. And so she had seen all these things and wars and stuff like that. So she would always ask me about, my military service, and she didn't like it, but she tolerated it and would always pray for me. But so I always had this connection to the land. And so I want to kind of jump forward here and just sort of put this together and bring it, from my childhood to where we are now. I've always wanted land. First of all, because I love to hunt. While I was in the military and when I got out of the military, I struggled with PTSD.
Gotcha.
But what really helped me was being able to transport my mind back to those days with my grandmother and the time we spent on the farm, and finding some place in nature alone that I could reconnect and and get that connection again. So I've always been very rooted and grounded in dirt, in the land. So that really helped me. So the second thing is I love to hunt.
Okay.
I spend pretty much all of my leave alone in the woods somewhere. So. Yeah, I go to Texas, I go to Colorado. I'm planning a trip here early next year to Africa, do my first safari. So it's really big to me. I actually used to be on a show called Ultimate Outdoors with this guy. So it's really big to me. So I always had this connection in some way or another to the land, and I've always wanted land. And so finally, I'm married now, and I have a wife, and and I've always just never had the money to buy land. So recently, getting out of the military, being retired, making some good wise investments. During this time, and here's a big piece of it, I was being mentored by a gentleman named Vic Sullivan. He's a financial planner, investment banker down in Albany, Georgia. One of my mentors, man. This guy's obviously clear millionaire. but Caucasian man.
Right.
But he and I met on a hunt that he was sponsoring for Marines, bringing them out to his property. And we just kind of connected from there. He wanted to do something for veterans, bring them out to his land, you know, give them this big barbecue, take them out hunting. We spent campfire night, did a bonfire. He and I just kind of connected there. So we ended up doing this thing year after year and spent a whole lot of time in between that together. And this year, October will be our 18th year of doing it.
Okay.
And so, long story short, my mind was so small and my breath was so slim that I didn't really know how to own land. I didn't know how to make it happen. I couldn't see a way to it.
Gotcha.
So he gets me into finance. He's also a financial planner, investment banker.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you, I was so broke at the time that I was embarrassed to even let him in on my finances.
I got it. Yeah.
That happens.
That's rough right there. Pause right there. Right there.
Yeah, that's the
It's
spot
one
right
of
there.
our biggest struggles right there. The
Yeah.
opening up of our finances to those that could help. Especially you talk to a planner, we're cool. I don't really can he be the planner? I don't really want to tell you how broke I am.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's where the magic happens.
Okay.
This guy, the guy has money. He's a millionaire,
Right.
and has big money. Yet he was willing to deal with me with my initial investment to him of $3,000,
Okay.
which was peanuts to him and a total waste of his time.
But everything in the world to you.
Right.
But but it wasn't a waste of his time because he saw something that I couldn't see.
Right. He had vision. There's a difference between sight and vision. Yeah.
Right. He saw something that I couldn't see. And he probably stuck to the plan more than I did.
Because he's living the outcome and you're breaking in.
Somewhere so far in the bushes that I can't see the forest.
Yeah.
Right.
So he would constantly
Right.
So he would constantly tell me, he's like, you're going to be retired from the Marine Corps one day. You need to take that check and not touch one dime of it. You need to give it to me and you need to invest that into some land. And he would always be kind of almost a little bit annoying, always had his foot on my neck about investing and doing something.
Right.
And so I really would occasionally give him money, but he really was like, you need to save, you need to invest, you need a financial future. And man, I can't thank God enough for this guy. Because lo and behold, I met him when I was like 29 years old. I'm 48 now, but he kept me, putting a nickel or two aside. But the biggest thing he did was he reshaped my mindset. Because during this time, he's a white male from this part of Georgia. I'm a black male from this type of Georgia, and we would bump heads a lot. But we would bump heads in a way that was totally gentlemanlike. It would never be, meet me behind checkers, but we can settle this on Dixie Highway or something. It was never, any of that. It was always cordial, gentlemanlike conversation. And it was about politics, race, religion, deep stuff. And I'm sure I shaped him in ways and helped him turn on some lights. And he helped me in a lot of ways. But it was so important for me to have that mentoring. But so now I'm in a better place financially. And I have this opportunity. I run into a gentleman who was from the church. And this perfect opportunity came to where he was going to help me really start investing in this property. And he was known for raising money. He had a nonprofit company that helped nonprofits. I began a nonprofit called the Nature Connection, which I really wanted to help young men get outside. So we're in the process now looking for this property. I'm in a better place financially. And I dumped a whole bunch of money to this trust, and it wasn't 10, 20, 30, or $40,000. It was a pile of money. And the guy robs me and takes off running with the money.
Oh, dirty dog.
Okay,
Dirty dog.
wait. So
That's
so you put it into a trust that someone else controls.
That he had access to. Yeah.
Access to. Wow.
Yeah. He takes the money and run. And here's the thing about it. It was during COVID, so I couldn't even get him in court to sue him.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And because it was in a trust, I really didn't have a whole lot of financial legal leg to stand on to prosecute him. Then the courts weren't taking anybody in that time anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Unless it was for murder or something serious.
Yeah.
Right.
So here I am. Not only did I not get the dream to materialize, which I've wanted my whole life, now I'm also robbed.
Yeah.
Right.
Double whammy.
Wow.
And so let me tell you, the Marine in me raised up. And
I'm glad you said Marine, because I would say something else.
But he both of them though.
Right.
Go ahead, brother. You right.
Both sides was raising up. Right.
And for a moment there, I put the Holy Spirit out of the room. And I was going to handle this with some other training that I have. I was really going to do something to this man. But I got so frustrated and so mad that it scared my wife. She's like, I see you going to this dark, ugly place. And I'm like, don't think about me going there. I'm already there. If I saw this guy, I would have really hurt him. And it got so bad, I became so frustrated that I finally broke down. I'm like, let me come to my senses, and I prayed about it. And it's amazing how God operates. And he began to press into my spirit. He says, now that you're broke and you're all the way down, now you're ready. Because even though this guy took all the money, I never stopped going to look at him property. I looked at over 800 properties online. I visited over 100 properties in Georgia.
That's good.
Mm.
He didn't stop
And
your vision.
I didn't stop, and it wasn't that I didn't want to stop. It was just God just kept pushing me. I didn't want it to be over. And God told me, now that you're broke and you're all the way down at the bottom and you can't help yourself, now I'm going to step in.
Wow.
And I made some phone calls, found out where this guy worked. His boss, come to find out, his boss was a retired Marine.
All right.
Wow.
All right.
And came after this dude so hard, he began to send all the money back.
Wow.
Nice.
Well, they fired him afterwards, but he sent
Hey,
and the guy told me, like, I wanted to make sure you had all your money back before we fired him.
That's a real one.
Yeah, so he ended up dealing with a whole other thing in that area, but the money was back. And I kept visiting this one property, and I went to it and had talked to the guy about the property, the agent before about it, and I went to the property twice. I went once with my wife. I came back later and went to the property again. It was down there Macon. And this time it was the property was against the road, but I had to go use the bathroom. So I ran onto this guy's property into the woods to use the bathroom. Well, when I came out of the woods, zipping my pants up, he had my truck blocked in. I had literally been trespassed on this man's land. And he's like, well, who are you? What are you doing out here? You own my property. I got your truck blocked in here. Long story short, 1 hour later, me and this guy sit on the tailgate of his truck drinking Gatorades. And I go, I really would like this property. It's the one I've been viewing the most. It's the one I really want to own. And he wanted $80,000 more than what I had to even be interested in this property. It was out of my league.
Wow.
And the next day he called me back and was like, hey, look, I'm going to cut another $1,000 per acre off this land and put it within your grasp.
Wow.
I literally got a 33% discount on this property.
Mm.
He goes,
Wow.
if I show this property to anybody else, or if I advertise it publicly, it'll be gone within hours.
Right.
He goes, but you impressed me so much yesterday that I want you to have it.
Wow.
And so I go running back, tell my wife, I still don't have enough money. My wife empties her bank account. Hey, look, I'm tired of you begging people to hunt. I see tears in your eyes about this thing.
Right.
Hey, here's what I got. Here's what you got. Go do it.
Right.
And so finally, man, we get to this closing, and
Wow. Wow. That's big, man. That is big. That is big. Wow. Wow. Talk about a journey, you know. It's
And
like
then not only God was on your side, but your partner, your spouse, your other half was like, hey,
yes.
you
Yes.
believe, I
Hey,
believe.
just yeah. Yeah.
so we're at this closing, and my mentor walks in the room.
Wow.
Wow.
He walks in, and he goes, I couldn't miss this for the world. And so we close on this deal, man, and we go down to the property, and we close on this, and I dedicated that land to God, but I made a tribute to my grandmother, and it was like reconnecting with her.
Right.
I took one of those sweet potatoes that I've grown every year since I've had a garden. I took it there with me to remember all of the nights in front of the fireplace in that old cold house with the wooden floors and the giant fireplace is the only source of heat, that my grandmother would take sweet potatoes and put them in that fire and cover them up with ashes. And those ashes would cook those sweet potatoes. She would take them out of the fire, pat them off,
Yeah.
and give them to me and my brothers and sisters as she sat in her rocking chair and taught to us Jesus.
Wow.
And implanted into us the word of God, man. And I tell you, that word of God has taken me through depression. It has taken me through being suicidal. It has taken me through PTSD. It has taken me through financial collapse. And it has always been the staying power for me. And so at that moment, I wanted to pay homage to her and to really seal that deal, because she taught to me Jesus about God her whole life. And the day she died, my family all surrounded her bedside, and they brought me in. And said, well, she's taught you Jesus all her life. As she dies right now, we want you to read from Isaiah to her as she goes on her transition. And so it was like just such a big culminating event, man. And I could just, to see that thing come full circle that day on that land, man, I couldn't hold it together. I just couldn't hold it together, man. I didn't know whether to shout, run, cry, jump, break. I think I did all four. So,
All that.
so I'm gonna pause right there. I've been going on for a minute there. I'll give you a chance to ask a couple of questions or clarify anything.
Well, let me ask you this, brother Calvin. How many acres did you get, brother?
We ended up getting 100.
Oh man, that's what I'm
We
talking
ended up
about.
getting 100. Yep.
Right.
That's a nice piece of land, right
Yeah,
there.
and I got it at a discount too. So it's 100 acres. Down in Upson County, right near Fort Valley, down from the university.
Really?
Yep.
Is most of it graded or is all wooded?
Most of it's wooded, and we're going to talk about that too, because that's where the wealth comes in. Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Nice. Well, congratulations. I don't know when you got it, but congratulations, bro.
Now this will be this September is 2 years.
Oh, sweet, man. Sweet.
This is recent. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you said them trees. Yeah. Oh, and that's the part I really wanted to get to the amount. This story, like I didn't know all the intricacies of the story. That was a journey. Then for someone to take your money, like
But see,
just
that's
like
the thing. Like
and then
like
this.
here's the thing. You hear all of that, right?
Yeah.
And we're like everybody else listening. All while you're talking, everybody's wondering, how many acres? How many acres? Listen, this is what happens. You want to know why I can't get through anything? Because I'm always trying to rush through to the end. I want to get to the big bang, right? And I don't really understand or appreciate or value the journey. I'm sitting here, man, you could have talked for the next hour. And I'm going to be quiet, right? Because you're talking about your experience, and the passion by which you speak, man, is mesmerizing. Right? But you know that it's God. You know and when you recognize that it's God, you have to listen. Right? Because everybody's trying to get their 100 acres.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody wants 100 acres, right? But nobody wants somebody running off with their money.
Right.
Right. That's good. I see where you're going.
Right.
Seriously, because what you did in response to him running off with the money, granted you 100 acres. Right? Your discipline, your restraint, that the fact that you had to pause, you know what you wanted to do.
Right.
But you had to pause and pray. Right? And so because of that situation worked out. And so my thing is, I know that you've given us this is the appetizer or the summary of everything that's transpired, right? Yeah. You can't speak to the depth that you were willing to go, the length that you were willing to go. When you thought about this guy. But you also, like, there's the conversation with your wife.
Right.
The conversation doesn't open up with do whatever you want to do. Here's
no.
Right? All of that is a process.
Yeah.
You understand? Yeah. And so that's the beauty of this testimony, right? We talked about building generational wealth, and everybody wants to talk money. No, we need to talk journey.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah, definitely, because you're right. It didn't come from. Cause of her, she's like, okay, I'll go hunting with you every now and then. She'll come sit in the stand with me and go out to the land. But she had a bad experience. The first day we got to the land, she found this giant rattlesnake. So but she understood. But here's what, and here's where it all. She understood what that meant to me. And so she's from Louisville, Kentucky. She's from the city. Now, granted, my wife is a little bit of a tomboy. She's from the city though, and she's a singer. She's in their hair and makeup and getting up in front and singing, and none of that had to do with shooting a rifle or gutting a deer. But she understands that to be connected to my husband, I need to be into what he's into, or at least show interest and support in it. And vice versa. So I go to concerts and I'm dreaming about hunting deer, but I'm listening to somebody sing. And all right. So the trade-off is there. And I think that when I got so broken down with that situation, and I tell anybody, Corey, there's hills and valleys in that journey. And she caught me one day in one of my lowest places. I become so frustrated and so angry that I couldn't control my emotions, and I literally broke. I melted down. And she didn't know what do you tell your husband in a moment like that? And so the journey is definitely part of it. And I see people. You're right. I tell them about the land, and they're like, "Oh man, I want to take that. I want to do that." I'm like, "Wait a minute." I summarized it in 30 minutes, but that took 20 years. That was 20 years in the making. I gave you the 30-minute version, but that was 20 years in the making.
Right.
That's an Abraham story.
Yes.
So,
right.
That's
and
that's
so,
what we miss, man. And
yeah. People don't want to do their 40 years wandering through the desert. And I tell my son, he's like, Dad, you got BMW, you got a Toyota Tundra, you got this house, you got another house, you got land. I go, but when you were 5, I was riding you around in a Toyota, that little black Toyota Tundra that made all the funny noises. And I kept having a flat tire every week, and we only had $8 worth of gas in it, So you got to start from where I started at and start. It gets better, but you got to definitely start from the start line. So to transition this conversation, let's talk about him, because now my son has sons. I have grandsons, and so my father only had a 9th grade education. My father did not leave me with anything. He left me with, matter of fact, he left me owing the IRS for tax bills that he had. I buried him out of my pocket. He didn't leave me with anything. I tell people he did the best he could, then he died. Okay. But I gave him a truck. I gave him my old truck when I bought a new truck. Most times you're in high school, your daddy gives you a truck or a car, whatever. No, I gave my father a truck. He and I did not always get along due to alcohol problems that he had. But toward the end, as I grew in ministry, God used me to lead him to salvation.
Amen.
So we spent that's where the land comes into play again, because we spent the last 3-4 years of his life hunting and fishing together, serving community. That was my wish, to see one of the best days of my life was me, my father, and my son serve communion in the church together, and then we went fishing afterwards, after we ate lunch. And so I really didn't have a lot of those memories growing up. So that was another motivation for me, was to provide for my son and his sons a better starting point. So let's talk about land and how that works into the thing. Because I know brother asked me earlier about, is it wooded or not? So it just so happens that my financial advisor, he owns, a couple hundreds, probably 1,000 acres, a couple of 1,000 acres down there, Albany, Georgia. And I watched him through the process, because he was sort of young in the land game. But I watched him through the process just transform this beautiful, magnificent property down in Southeast Georgia. The man basically gave me a key to the gate, literally gave me a key to the gate, showed me where there was a cabin out there. He goes, the cabin is yours when you want it. Here's where you can hunt. Come down here and just enjoy yourself. But he provided me with that opportunity. And he doesn't let anybody else go out there. He's got family members that won't go out there, can't go out there, because he just don't trust them to do the right thing. But I watched him transform this property, and I looked at how much timber was coming off of that place. And if you look at Warren Buffett and Bill Gates right now, they're not buying properties, they're buying land.
Right.
I think it was Warren Buffett that said, I'd rather have all of the farmland in America than all the gold in America.
Yeah.
Why? Because that cycle of wealth. I noticed that when I grew up, all the people who had money owned land. It was an integral part of it. Yeah. And so I began to wonder what that was about. So when I bought this property, I had enough insight to know to find a property that also had excellent timber value, which this property does. And so the next 2 years, we will begin what's called a thinning process of taking wealth off of this land.
Okay.
So you cut these pine trees the first time at about 14 years old. And they're planted in rows, just like lettuce, just like corn. It's called a pine plantation stand. They're planted in rows, just like corn and potatoes and any other crop. Right. But it's slow farming, because versus picking up something every year like corn, potatoes, or soybeans, you pick these up every 13 or 14 years.
Right.
So let's do some math real quick. The first cut of that property, they're small trees, only about 12 to 14 inches in diameter, and that's what's called pulpwood. You grind that into paper products. You grind it into small particle board and different things that are not solid wood that need paper, that need a paper pulp base.
Shelves that you got in your
Huh?
cheap bookshelves that I have.
Yes, exactly. And so for that, let's just throw a rough number out there. You can get roughly $1,000 per acre on that first cut.
Wow.
So just start doing the math in hundreds and thousands of acres. Wow. Now the next cut you're going to do on that property is probably 6 years away. Those trees are usually 20 years old then. And you have what's called chip and saw. So if some of this wood is going to be chipped into pulpwood, and bigger trees are going to be sawed into small timber, then like 2x4, 2x6s, 4x8s, whatever. So you're getting some timber out of that for some building material for smaller furniture and stuff. So that cut is going to run you about $1,200 per acre. Now you done got $800 off at one time. Now you're going to come in because you didn't take all the lumber down. You just took a portion of it out. You did what's called thinning. You took like a third of the timber out. Now you're going to come back later, 5 or 6 years later, take another third out. That wood is going to be roughly worth about $1,800 an acre.
Wow. Okay.
Now you wait until that timber turns about 25 years old. 5 years later, you cut. Then you do what's called a clear cut. You take everything else down. That lumber can be worth up to about $3,000 an acre.
Wow.
If you do the math, it's exponential. And if you did it right, you've paid for that property. You've regained all of your wealth. Now here's a legacy and generational part of it. After you clear all that timber, you just plant it again.
Wow.
And you start over. And you cut the wood maybe 2 or 3 times in my lifetime. That'll give it to my son. He cuts it 2 or 3 times in his lifetime and gives it to his son. They cut the wood. And by that time I give it to my son, there is the only thing you got is tax bracket. So let me ask a question real quick. On 100 acres of land, what do you think I pay in taxes?
Oh, probably
per acre. Think about that. It's 100 acres. That's a huge tract of land. Think about your 1 or 2 acres your house is on. How much you pay in taxes? Now multiply that times 100. There's a huge tax penalty there. How much you think I pay in taxes?
A lot.
Probably about $150 an acre.
Huh?
Probably about
$150 per acre.
$150 an acre.
Can you say
$150 an acre? So what would that be in math? About what?
About 10,000.
About 10,000? 10, 12,000?
Yeah.
For that 100 acres, I don't pay 1,000.
Wow, really?
No.
Nice.
I pay in taxes every year. I pay roughly $500.
Well, that's because there's nothing. It's just land.
If I put a building on it, I still pay $5.
Really?
You mean I'm saying in terms of city, plumbing, sewer, all that kind of stuff. Those are the things that increase taxes when the state and local government.
Here's where we as brothers jump in and unlock some secrets that I've been discovering lately. No matter what I do with this property, if I improve it, if I plumb it, if I sewer it, if I get Upton County to run power onto it, my tax liability per year is still $500. Because you're right, brother Corey, that is the thing that brings your tax bracket up. However, I'm shielded and protected like all of the big landowners are in different programs if you know what they are. So we enlisted this program, this property, into a program called CUVA. And what that stands for is Conservation Use Value Assessment.
Okay.
So I go into a whole totally different, box of candy to eat from when it comes to this, and that's how people have been protecting their wealth.
Well, you would think they're paying you to preserve the land.
Huh? Yes.
Yeah.
And then you get into a program called CRP, crop rotation program, where the U.S. government wants to control the prices of corn, cotton, and soybeans in the foreign domestic GPI
Right.
gross, leverage our gross product. If you grow too much cotton, the price of cotton goes down.
Yeah.
Because you got a surplus, you need to sell it off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now they're paying farmers not to grow it.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That would have helped a couple hundred years ago.
Yeah.
They pay farmers not to grow anything, to hold their land there, don't grow, so that we can fight India and China and all these other countries in Pakistan by manipulating the gross domestic product and leveraging the market and basically monopolizing foreign trade in that manner. So all of this, there's so many programs that the FSA, the USDA, the NRCS, and I'm just discovering a lot of these. We cleared 10 acres. We cleared 10 acres. My first estimate on clearing 10 acres was about $50,000.
That was tree stumps and all? That was the Trump?
Tree stumps, grading the land, knocking over trees, piling up, burning up. It was about $50,000.
For 10 acres?
For 10 acres.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
I paid less than 5.
Wow.
There was a program.
Okay.
There was a program called the Wildlife Conservation Program, where the deer and the turkeys and the rabbits, they need open areas that are not covered up by trees so that they can get the best grasses and forbs and herbs, and the flowers can come out and the pollinators can live. We need those areas because our honeybee population, all those areas are getting ran over. So they came in and like, if you want to do what's called a wildlife opening, we'll send the Forestry Commission in there and help you do it cheap to the dollar.
Okay, wait, but on that and all these other programs, how are you getting this information? You just hustling up yourself?
Me and you the same face. I'm thinking the same thing.
Help me when I. So here's the thing. It's so funny, right? We go back to something that we've been saying, how you're one handshake, one phone call, one email away from your breakthrough, from your next level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything that Brother Foster's talking about is because he got access.
Yeah.
Right. There was an opportunity that presented himself. And here's the thing. I know it sounds corny, but because he paid attention growing up, because he had the discipline, that experience getting caught trespassing on somebody's property could have changed, could have went a whole nother direction.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
In Georgia.
Yeah.
Right.
Down south.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In the woods.
Right.
With no witnesses.
No witness.
No witnesses.
No witness.
Right. You understand? And so, people like Calvin, people don't understand like a lot, but we do. We understand why you praise him, why you serve him the way that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I'm talking about the Lord, because you can clearly see God's hand at work, right?
Yeah.
But you can also clearly see what a good mindset will bring, what consistency and determination and faithfulness will do to an individual. So here you are all these years later. And I love what you said, man. This is not a microwave investment.
Right.
Indeed.
This is a conventional oven investment. This is over the course of 20 years. I love this, man. And there's no way we can get all this done in one conversation, AD.
Not at all.
Right. And you heard Calvin say, to make a long story short, like 4 times.
Right.
Hey, I see it a lot of different spots. I see Calvin. He on the other side of being prepared and ready, and he just needed the door open. But then the other side to get ready. So like, if the two got to meet, like if they come to me right now, I ain't ready. You know what I mean? So I got it. Getting ready is one step. I guess like Pastor Kevin talking about, when you had it as a kid, you got the idea planted in your head. So I guess it's started there, but then working to get prepared. So like, I just want to go back for a second, even when you were talking about like 28, 29, when you met that
The investor.
The investor and mentor piece, like that, even that 3,000 that you got him. What was like that time period from him planting that or introducing you to that to you responding to it with like that tangible physical money? Like what was that part right there? Because a lot of people stuck right there. Is what I'm saying. So
so are you asking like time wise? How long did it take for me to have the money?
Yeah, and what did you do in that time too? You know what I'm saying? To get prepared.
So I think that, and see, here's the thing, and I have a background in psychology and sociology. You know, from Northwestern. I went to one of the best psychology sociology schools in the country, and one of the things that I understood was that you're a product of the 5 people you're around the most. You are them. And so I wanted to have myself around. It's almost like they're saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Right.
And so I understood that there was so much I could gain from him. And even more so than me actually saving the money, because I didn't have a whole lot of money when we pulled the trigger. Now, I think the fear was bigger than the financial obligation.
Wow. Okay.
The hesitation to jump magnified greater than the small intricacies that had it took. The process was really not that hard. People just, the minds are not shaped, and the fear of the unknown holds us back in so many different ways.
Yes.
So for him, I was broke pretty much most of my time in the military. I mean, I was raising a son by myself. I didn't have money, trying to support my mom because my dad ended up dying, you know, a couple of years, after I met this guy from cancer. And so I was always sending money back home, trying to make sure my mom was good, trying to take care of my son, running back and forth myself. I didn't come from money, so I didn't have any. But what he did do more so than anything, he opened me up. And he changed my mindset toward money. And let me tell you something. If you keep hanging around somebody who has what you want, before long, you'll be touching it for yourself.
That's right. I like that.
And I didn't have what he's got but I had a scaled down version. I had the junior version. I had the junior Whopper.
That works too.
But it worked. It worked.
Yeah.
And so I think that for me, to answer the question, it changed my mindset about money and understanding that he applied a light amount of pressure to me that always said, you need to save some money and have something for another day. Now, the financial vehicle I used was a thrift saving plan in the military. And he told me, we can't beat those rates. And we're not going to price match or, put money into your investment. Matter of fact, we have a ratio that we need out of your money to pay us.
Wow.
So, but he was cool about that. He's got money. He's like, if the thrift saving plan is a better saving vehicle, you better dump $1,000 a month into that thing, and don't let me see any less than that. I mean, he went crazy on that then. So, I think it was a constant pressure of someone saying, you can be greater. You can be better. Stop settling. Get off your body. I mean, he had a foot on my neck. And it wasn't like he was just overbearing, but he would have those conversations where we'd be out, getting a hamburger or getting ready to go hunt, and we're riding through the woods, go get in the tree stand, and he'd be like, how's the savings going? I hadn't heard you say anything else, or I saw you with your wife. I saw you with your wife down in Mexico. What kind of money you saving?
Wow, that's good.
So, right. Then I think that that was the biggest thing. I tell people all the time, you need to be being mentored at all times and you need to be reaching back and mentoring at all times. So just having him around, man, it was just that constant. It lit a fire in me that I could have something because I came from nothing. So my mind was so small that, most guys that I grew up with, hey man, I'm working at the trailer park, man. We making $12.50 an hour, man. We doing good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I know you're wrapping up.
We good. We good.
I know this is gonna take forever, but all right. Now talk to me about your wife. Money coming from the house. She see you in tears. She see you happy. She see you low. How you talking now? When you got the 100K, the 100 acres, is evident then. But how you got to keep trusting, believing, sowing? Okay. You said she cleared out her bank account. How you got her to that part?
Well, do you mean to get her to buy in onto the land?
Yeah.
Well, the thing with my wife is, I've messed up with a lot of women before, man.
Yeah.
I ran over a lot of women.
Yeah.
With this time, I had Jesus on my mind.
All right.
So I knew to handle her in a different way. One thing about me, and here's where you see the hand of God. When I met my wife, the day I met her, she prophesied to me.
Wow.
I talked literally the day I met her in Cheesecake Factory. She prophesied to me. We began talking, and I was telling her about the company that I started, and she goes, "Well, I'm really pouring out. I'm proud of this company. I'm fresh out of the Marine Corps. This is my next power move." And she looked at me and said, "Well, yeah, that's." She's like, "Yeah, that's good, but that's not what you're supposed to be doing." She goes, "You're carrying the word of God, and you should be preaching." She's like, "When you're ready to do that, then you'll reach your limits." And so,
can you stay right there for a second? Because I love where you're going with this, man. And that's why I giggled. I didn't mean to laugh out loud, but I knew where you were going, man.
Right.
But the whole point about how you met your wife, and she spoke into your life,
right?
So faith met faith.
You
understand? So when faith meets faith, you don't have to get your wife to do anything,
right?
You just have to walk it out in front of her.
Yep.
And God will do the rest.
That's the key right there. Yeah, you do walking it out.
And it goes into here's one of the things that I did for my wife. The first time she ever came to my house, I invited her over for dinner. Said, "Well, get here in a good time. You can eat dinner. You can go back home. We can hang out for a while." And when I was walking her, I came outside and greeted her when she pulled up in my yard. She lived way over on Atlanta Highway, Marietta side. And I was way over here in Gwinnett County, Loganville at the time. I came outside and I looked at her tires. She had a bad tire on the back of her Jeep. Now, granted, I just got out of the military. I didn't have money, but I said, "Look, I can't send you back across 285 with this tire like this." And I wasn't trying to impress her or anything. I go, "We got to get you over here, get this tire replaced. Matter of fact, both these tires on the back of your truck have got to come off." And granted, this had only been like our fourth or fifth, sixth interaction together. But I knew I didn't want a woman, leaving my house and in my care to go back across town and possibly get killed. These tires were bad. And, her dad would usually come down and check stuff out, but he hadn't been out in a while. And so I took her over to Kaufman, put 2 new tires on the back of her truck. And we just always had that relationship where I've never given her a reason not to trust me in that sense. I've never given her a reason not to believe in me in that sense. I know, granted, now our relationship has not been roses and peaches the whole time. Our relationship has had its rocky places, its bumps,
Yes,
its lumps.
indeed.
We've had some train crashes and car wrecks. We've fallen down. We've fallen out. We left and came back.
Right.
And so, but in that sense, she knows financial wise, she trusts me. She knows that comes to money, come to finances, come to planning our future. That the boy, I've never given her a reason not to support that. So, and I think that it was really her dad that broke her down and said, you know, when a guy takes you and he's willing to empty his pockets instead of trying to lift your skirt up real quick, and is willing to help you and believe in you and make sure that you're safe.
Right.
That's kind of where you need to put your attention. And I think that finally sunk in for her.
Right.
And so it was time for me to get this land. I have been nothing less than faithful to her in the sense of taking care of her, trying to make sure things were done, coming to her house and fixing stuff and making sure her grass and yard was cut, making repairs on her car. So she was more than ready to empty her pockets when she saw me, you know, trying to make this land move.
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's awesome. That you know, when Pastor said walking it out, I think one of the things we miss as men, and I know like a lot of times, just for lack of putting it the best way possible, you know, when I used to come to my wife with harebrained schemes and like, hey, I think I found something we need to jump into, you know, I would be hurt when she wasn't with it. Like I was at the meeting, I'm excited. You should be excited too, you know, but realizing I wasn't really walking this thing out, you know. And even like in this season, walking Brother's Legacy out, like she's on board because I've been walking it out.
Yeah.
And you saying that, it's like, you know, they don't, you know, your wife ain't on board. Like you committed, but you ain't really committed. you committed, I got your back. You know, when I know you about to invest, it's like I see you all in, I'm gonna get all in. You know.
Well, and my wife is totally different. She understands, and I think that's the thing. We know each other. I'm black or white, yes, no, on, off. I'm very by the line, by the book. My wife is very rosy and technicolored and all of the possibilities. My wife will come to you one day and say, I got $50. We open a bakery. You know, she will pop off she's spastic like that. She'll come up with an idea and watch that fail and 5 minutes later go grab something else. She's all over the place. I provide that stability and security in our lives because, man, if I let her have her way, she's like, look, I got $200. We open another clinic in Lithonia. I mean, she just will be there. I have to really pull back on her. So, but at the same time, I'm so cautious that I usually think things into the ground and never jump. So she's given me a lot of courage to go ahead, and over the years is what made me pull the trigger on the land deal, because I would think things through and psychoanalyze it and count each penny.
Why are you giving me this discount? Why is he giving me this discount? Thinking too hard on it. Why am I getting this discount?
I would drill things in the ground. She's an entrepreneur. She's like, look, I'm hiring another employee. I'm hiring 2 more employees, and I got $75 to get them through next week. I don't know what I'm doing the week after that, but let's go.
Let's go. Love it.
So I think we balance each other out in that sense. She's got all the courage and all the ideas, and I'm the level grounding place. So,
nice. Oh, all right. So, anyway, wanted to kind of jump in that space because I was we're over time. I don't want to hold you guys too long, but
because you had a preacher talking.
I know, right?
We're gonna have him back, Calvin Foster, because I want to talk about the air property problem, the air property, and what do we mean by air? HEIR. Like the transference of property to the next generation. Because we talked previous, like me and Calvin a day ago, and he's like, let's dig into that as well, because that's an issue. Just the transference of wealth to the next generation.
Mhm.
That as well as why land and having land is a great building block for boys and their fathers. So we can dig into that as well. All right,
Yeah.
so I want you guys to continue to stay tuned, stay abreast. You see us, we're changing, we're leveling up, we're going to new heights. So make sure you stay connected. And I feel like I'm getting my panel of people so we can have this conference. It's coming, guys. It's coming. All right. So we appreciate you guys for being here, rocking with us. Another edition of the Brothers of Legacy. Um, Continue to share, tag somebody. This was a great conversation, the beginning of many. Next week, I got another gentleman coming through. I think it's on Tuesday. He's going to talk about infants and fathers. Infants and
Mm.
fathers, an organization in the space that I never really thought about. And it's his story is good as well. So stay tuned, stay connected. We got some great people coming through. Make sure you sharing, stay connected. Text LWN to 84576. Text LWN to 84576. And that's it. So for all hearts and minds are clear. Anybody want to share anything before we get out of here? Anything? Good? Everybody straight?
Yeah.
No, man, I enjoyed the conversation, man.
Thank y'all for having me. Thank y'all for having me. I really appreciate it, man. This made my day.
Man.
Good stuff, man.
Awesome,
Don't go anywhere
awesome.
though, Calvin.
Yeah,
All right.
don't leave. Hey, everybody, close out. Right, don't leave. Just hang out.
All right.
Also, before I get out of here, because my mentor says I got to mention this every time. We have these broadcasts with, like I said, we're trying to build new spaces for brothers to chat and to help mentor kids, as well as we have accountability calls, and all of this. Takes time and it takes funding as well. So, feeling led to give to the Brothers of Legacy. I didn't put that, but we'll just put this one. So go to $BOL 2019, $BOL 2019, seed into the Brothers of Legacy, help us grow and build greater things. All right. So again, appreciate you, Calvin. Thank you for coming through. Definitely gonna have you back. Preferably we could just have you on the same time if this time works. We'll make it a thing, and we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Freestyle Friday looked like it was messing up. Let me get out of here before Spectrum decides to shut me down. So we look forward to seeing you. Know that we love you. Jesus loves you better. Stay safe. Do the right thing. Remember, 988 mental health crisis. You know someone or you're going through something. Make sure you dial 988. All right, guys. Peace out.
All right.